In this video, I'm going to take you through the process that I use for building a grip. Now, this can be with an established player or a complete beginner. You'll see how I use drawings of the glove to help the player get the club in the right position in the hands and also to get the hands in the correct position relative to one another. So this is my grip building process, starting at stage one. Stage one, we're going to draw some lines in the glove to help illustrate where the club needs to sit first of all. So you notice I've drawn a blue line across the middle knuckles. That's where the middle of the back of the grip, in this case this red reminder line, will sit. That's very key because it encourages the player to get the club in the fingers rather than the palm. Benefit of having it in the fingers is to be able to retain a more secure hold, and it gives the player access to all the different wrist movements that we need in a high functioning golf swing. The next line we've got is a horizontal line across the thumb and forefinger. That's where the thumb and forefinger are going to meet and stay in contact. We've got a line straight up from there, arrow straight up. That's going to indicate where the hands are to the left or right of the grip. Now, what I'm not suggesting here is that this is a prescriptive grip that we coach to everyone. There's always a little bit of flexibility. But if I'm coaching a beginner, I will tend to stick to these rules more than an established player. So how do we go about building the left-hand grip? Well, first of all, we're going to put the reminder line, the back of the middle of the grip, on the blue line across the fingers. Straight away, that's much more in the fingers than it is in the palm. That's giving you security. The club is stable in the hand and also plenty of access, particularly to radial and ulnar deviation. We're then going to ensure that the contact point between thumb and forefinger is meeting, and my preference is that the arrow is pointing to the right ear. So that thumb-forefinger contact point points to the right ear. So, to reiterate, number one, you're going to draw a blue line across the knuckles. That's going to encourage the club to be held much more in the fingers. We've got our contact points and the position of the hand, which is represented by the arrow in the glove. We want those contact points to meet, and they're going to point at the right ear. So now let's start to introduce the trail hand. You'll notice that I've drawn this blue dot on the top knuckle of the lead thumb. I've also got a blue dot right in the middle of the pad beneath the thumb. Those two are going to meet on the grip. Now that's a really important pressure point when it comes to loading and unloading the shaft through impact, and using this to illustrate it to the student has really helped in my experience. The final cue is the index finger of the trail hand, that middle knuckle. That is going to sit on the grip, and that again is a key pressure point when we talk about the loading and unloading phase. So, let's recap. Number one, we've got a line drawn across the middle knuckle of the fingers. That's where the rear of the grip, the red reminder line, is going to sit. Wrap the fingers around the grip, and now you have a finger-dominant grip, which not just promotes movement through the wrists, it also promotes stability on the grip end of the club. The thumb forefinger contact point is illustrated by this, with the arrow straight up the thumb pointing at the right shoulder. That is my preference. Yes, we can work one way or the other, but this is where I'll start most people. When we introduce the trail hand, we're going to put the blue dot in the thumb pad on top of the blue dot at the top of the knuckle. And finally, the trigger finger. We're going to have that middle knuckle wrapped around the side of the grip. The key pressure points in here are quite important. The last three fingers of the trail hand, but particularly the pinky. The contact between the top of the grip and the heel pad of the lead hand. We're then going to introduce the trail hand again. Blue dot in the thumb pad on top of the blue dot on the glove. And finally, the trigger finger. Applying pressure through that middle knuckle of the trail hand to the side of the grip. That is how I go about building grips for all players. It doesn't matter what standard. I'm going to use something like this, some kind of illustration to help them get it right when I'm not there. From a personal perspective, I think that we're all aware of how important the grip is, that we need to get better at coaching the subtlety and the nuance of a great grip, and being able to illustrate that with lines on a glove is really helpful. The lines in the trail hand, we can put them on with every single student. Hopefully they'll brush off at some stage. But there you have a really simple process to help establish functional grips in all of our golfers.